Hi, everybody. This is the December 2025 board recap. So I'm just going to work my way through the agenda. It was, I think, the longest meeting I've ever been at since I've been at this library. It was 3 hours. And the reason for that is that at the beginning of the meeting, the beginning of the meeting started off at 4 o'clock with a 1 hour presentation from the design firm SHP. So they had a PowerPoint program. The two architects that have been our primary architects for our project were there, and one of the partners for SHP was there to talk to. So I will be able to send the slideshow to Taryn, and she'll put it on the staff site when it's available. I just want to remind everybody when we share this that everything that's on there is preliminary. It's not for public consumption. It's just for you guys to look at. And if you have any questions, please ask them. Don't make any assumptions. I had a bad experience at this library a couple years ago where I shared a drawing very early on and people made jump to a lot of conclusions, and I don't want to have a repeat of that. So if you have questions, please just ask me, Christy, Karen, anybody on the management team, because they've been involved with providing input on the design process. So SHP did a presentation. The exciting part about it was that they still haven't started. We don't really have the schematic drawings done, but they've narrowed down where the functions are going to be in the annex and where we're going to move some things around to in the Defiance building. And the part that I was most excited and really happy about is they had a sketch of what the exterior of the annex might look like, and I was very pleased with it. It has, we of course can't replicate the Carnegie building, but it picked up on a number of design features of the Carnegie building, like the peaked roof and sort of how if you look at the front of the Carnegie roof, it kind of flares up on the ends. There's a special term for that, which I can't remember right now, but that's repeated on the design on the annex, and also big arches, and the arches in the annex are big arched glass windows. So I think it looks great. What they said now is that if the building was built as they designed it, had it drawn that day, we would be way over budget. So what's going to happen is that they'll start with like best case scenario, and then we're going to probably have to downsize some things given our budget. So that's going to be a whole process. And so what you see when I share the slides, what you see probably will look different when we actually build it. It's still going to change some, but this was our first glance at what it might look like on the exterior and where the functions might be placed on the interior. So, and the board seemed happy. There was no negative feedback from the board. There were a few questions. It was kind of an overwhelming presentation, I think, for them because none of it was new information for me or Christy or some of the management team that were there, but I think it was all new information for them. So, but I'm hoping I feel like they had a positive reaction. I couldn't really see them. I was at the front of the room. So, but anyhow, Christy's nodding her head. So nobody was like making faces or going behind about it. So, anyhow, so right after SHP, Gary Cates, who's the new fundraiser that we hired, spoke for about 15 minutes about fundraising. And he spoke about how at the beginning of a fundraising campaign he called it the quiet part of the campaign. So that's when we're not advertising it to the public, but we're talking to our big donors. We're identifying people who might be big donors and then approaching them. So the public part of the campaign where we're doing things where you could donate like $20 or whatever, that's actually the last part of the fundraising campaign. So he talked to the board about that, and he also talked to them that we're going to be asking each one of them to make a donation. And what he said to them is the dollar amount doesn't matter. It just matters that the amount is of a size to be important to you. So he and I talked, and we both agree that it's like we're not going to be asking anybody for a specific dollar amount. People should donate what they're comfortable with. And the goal is to get full board participation so we can say that the whole board has donated towards this project, because we have a wide variety of economic statuses on our board, and everybody's different. So he talked about that, and then he also talked with them about meeting with us to come up with names for who might be donating at different levels. And then he also talked about how if they know somebody in the community who might be a donor, if they can help us share the name with the fundraising team, get us in the room, and then we can actually, Gary or myself or somebody else would actually make the ask. The trustees don't have to make the ask. So this is actually also going to be applying to all you guys. If anybody has somebody that they think might be able to make a donation, or you want to participate in that way, please let me know. Talk to me or Christy, and we can talk to you, give you more details about that then. So he talked for about 15 minutes, and then at 5 o'clock we swore in our new board member, who's Tammy Bowers. She's from Ney. She has some connections with the farming community. She's a longtime member of the Sherwood Branch Library's Friends Group. She's a retired school librarian. She's going to be amazing. I'm really excited about having her on the board. I like her a lot, and I think she's going to be a big contributor. And Shannon swore her in, so yay, Shannon. It's great to have a notary. Then the next thing is I'm going to skip down to the Friends report, because I wanted to talk about one thing related to the Defiance Friends. So we're going to be having a fundraising event on January 24th at the Defiance building. So what we'll be doing is unveiling the schematic drawings for the public at that point. You guys will see them before then, but we're going to have a big to-do about unveiling them for the public. So one of the things that Gary Cates had talked to us about was ticketing the event to cover our costs, so that the library isn't absorbing all the costs for like the food, entertainment, all of that. So because public libraries are subdivisions of the state of Ohio, so that means we're in essence a kind of state agency almost. So we're not allowed to sort of double dip. In essence, we're everything we do is paid for with taxpayer dollars. So we can't run an event and then also with taxpayer dollars, then also ask people to pay money to get in. So the workaround for that for us is to have the Friends of the Library do the ticketing for us. So I talked to the president of the Defiance Friends, Jeff Hahn. He said it was okay to run the funds for the ticketing through the Defiance Friends. So one of the things I'm doing today and tomorrow is I'm going to be investigating ticketing platforms. So I can work that all out with Jeff. So if anybody asks you about ticketing for library events and questions, that you can always refer them to Christy or me. But public libraries are not supposed to be ticketing for events for that reason. We also don't pay for liquor. So if you see us serving alcohol at events, that is paid for by the Friends. And I always have the provider. In the last time we did this, it was Iron Horse. The provider serves the liquor. The library staff don't do that. So, all right, I'm going to go on to. There wasn't really anything in the consent agenda that they discussed. And then we went into an executive session. So the executive session was, I had some personnel issues I wanted to talk to the board about, and it was nothing bad. So when they came out, they voted for a pay increase for Gary, because he's going to get a promotion in January. He's going to become our facilities manager. So there'll still be a handy person position where I'm not getting rid of that position. It's just that we're going to be creating a new one for Gary. And he's going to, and this is in recognition of all the work that he's doing. So then the reason that that position will be made into a manager's position is because he's going to have budgetary responsibilities. He's going to have to manage budget lines. And he will also be supervising some of our vendors, like our HVAC in the Defiance building is a good example of that. And if we ever do put somebody into which I'm assuming at some point we will in the future, when we fill the handy person position, that position would report to Gary's position. And then Gary will continue to report to me. So the other thing that came out of that was that I asked for the board to give managers, once they reach their 20-year mark, an additional week of vacation. So managers currently have 4 weeks of vacation. When they hit the 20-year mark, they'll go to 5 weeks. So this is in recognition of their years of service. So there's 2 managers this affects right now, Kathy and Maria, and then I know there's at least one other one that's going to hit that goal within the next 5 years. So that'll be implemented in 2026. And then Christy and I also got an additional week of vacation during that. And they gave Christy a raise in recognition of all the work she's doing that she didn't know she signed up for when she came on board, like replacing the accounting system. And they gave me a small raise in recognition that I'm now I'm the facilities manager basically. So, and have been since last March. So that's what came out of the executive session. All these things were baked into the budget already. So the next item on there was the budget proposal. So Christy had a great presentation. I liked it because it was very easy to understand. She just sort of walked them through sort of a high level view of the budget. And they had a couple of questions. One of the new members had a couple of questions. Ken responded and Christy responded to her questions and answered them. And then the budget was approved. It was like a pretty straightforward discussion. They also approved the 2026 wage and salary list. And they Doug Zimmerman and Christy did a presentation on a new financial system. So the system that we're currently using, there are no public libraries in Ohio still using the system. It's so old. And it's end of life. They haven't stopped supporting it yet, but they're trying, we're the only person using it still. So most other libraries transitioned to new systems about 5 to 10 years ago. So, and they want to charge us an 18% increase over our platform fee or our user fee for 2026. So they're trying to nudge us away from this. So Christy and Doug did a very thorough evaluation of systems that we could transition to, and they picked one called BSI, I think. Look at this. Is that right, Christy? Is it BSI?
BSNA.
BSNA, thank you.
Yep.
And so it's going to be a long process. So we're going to be transitioning over to it in 2026, but we won't be like using it for our everyday business until 2027. So in 2026, we're essentially going to be having KVS still, and then we're going to be uploading 5 years worth of data to the new system. Plus, there'll be training for everybody. So that'll probably start in a few months. They have to schedule that. And so it's going to be, I think it's going to be a huge improvement. So, and it's also going to be a new timekeeping system. So everybody who hates a SureForce, yay, we will get there eventually. And so one of the things that I got really excited about with it is that in the system, you can, I don't know exactly how it works, of course, but what I've been told is that it's almost like a tickler system. You know how like when you put in a calendar, you put reminders and calendars for yourself in the future, you'll be able to do something like that. So like if we got a new HVAC system, Christy or I could put in there, start planning for new HVAC system in 10 years or 15 years. And that would come up even if Christy and I weren't here, so that, we wouldn't be having an HVAC crisis like we are right now. So it's going to help a lot with planning. And we'll be able to do our requisition orders online. It's just going to be a lot easier. So I think it's going to be a huge positive for us. And Christy and Doug talked to other library systems that are using it, and they love it. So that's, I'm sure you'll be hearing more from Christy about that. And then so the board approved that, of course. And then there were two policy updates. One of them was sort of a behind the scenes thing for the business office. So ACH transfers, which are the electronic transfers that like when we have our direct deposits for our checks. So Doug was going through our files, I guess, and couldn't find a resolution authorizing the library to do that. We're supposed to have a resolution and a policy about that before we actually start doing ACHs. So Doug wrote the resolution, the board approved it last night, so we're all set. And so this will cover us for not only paycheck electronic transfers, but business office can start paying some of the bills via ACH now too. So that'll be a good thing for us also. And then I proposed an update to the DPLS patron code of conduct because we were having problems with adults in the Defiance building bringing in full meals and sushi and eating in the building. So I've added in a line that says there's no, and I'll send this out, but the line basically says no food in Defiance in the library buildings unless it's related to a program. So I am going to also send out a sort of an advisory email related to that, saying to all the staff, saying if you see parents with little kids in the library and they're feeding their kids something like goldfish crackers, something that's dry, not smelly, that's fine. We don't need to police people that closely. And also if there's like an adult in the building who is having a dry, non-smelly snack, that's fine too, because we don't know if they're diabetic, if they have some other health issue. So the goal isn't to crack down on everybody. It's just to make the environment friendly for everybody. And that means excluding smelly meals like fish or McDonald's and things like that. So that was approved, and I'll be sending that out for you guys to with the form, so I know that you've seen it. And then after that was board recruitment. So this was Ken Boroff, our board treasurer. This was his last meeting. So he decided his term's up at the end of December, and he's decided not to re-up, which is understandable. He's been on for 12 years. So that was a huge commitment on his part, and he's done a wonderful job. He's so great to work with, and we're all going to miss him. So Chris Korn bought very fancy cupcakes. I'll put the extras down in the staff room if anybody wants to have one. And we gave him a framed photo, or one of the framed drawings of the library. So Ken's leaving. So I did talk to Rob Gieske, who was a CFO in Defiance probably 12 to 15 years ago for about a year. And then he left here to go become the CEO/CFO of Four County Mental Health Services. So Rob retired a couple of years ago. So I had met him and thought he might be a good fit for us. So I asked him if he would be willing to replace Ken as board treasurer. So he said yes. So yay, that's great. And he's going to start in January. So the board accepted that nomination last night from me, and they directed me to submit his nomination to the Defiance City Council. So the Defiance City Council is our library system's appointing authority. So they actually appoint the board members. So we nominate them and they appoint them. They've never not appointed somebody that I've nominated to them. So I'm looking forward to working with Rob. He's a lot of fun. So and I know Elaine knows him. There are a few other people I think who are familiar with him. And then update on the annex/renovation. So most of this was actually, I didn't really have to give any sort of update because it was all covered by SHP and Gary Cates at the beginning of the meeting. The one thing that I haven't shared with you, I will share the slideshow when we get it, but the other thing that I didn't share with you that that I talked to the board about is that Gary introduced us to a grant writer that he works with. And so we're going to be working with her. We pay her a flat fee per month to do research, and then she gets a small percentage of whatever grant she gets for us. So I've been corresponding with her already about looking for grants for the annex construction and also to help us with, because we're going to have to replace the HVAC in the Defiance building at some point, probably before we're ready to build the annex. So I've asked her to help us look for grants to help pay for that because HVAC systems are quite expensive. And because we didn't know about this, we didn't budget for it. So there is some budgeting for it now. You know, we found out about it when well, at least I found out about it when I took over the building management in March after Nancy left. So Christy and I budgeted some money in case we have a massive failure of the system this year, but hopefully that won't happen. And I believe that's it. Does anybody have any questions? Or Christy, did I forget anything that we need to talk about?
No, I think you about covered everything. Yeah, it was a marathon meeting last night. There was a lot of topics to
And
cover.
Christy was really tired. So was Beth. I was watching Beth and she was just wilting at the end. It was a really long meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we got a lot of things happened and it was a good tie up for the end of the year. So, and yeah, so I'm looking at Defiance building people. Do you guys have any questions? No? Okay. All right, well, I'm going to stop then, and I'm on vacation today and tomorrow, but I'll be back Monday. If anybody needs me, please text me. I am working a little bit on my laptop this morning, so if I am checking my email this morning. And thank you very much for your time, I guess. Thanks, and happy end of 2025, beginning of 2026. So, okay, all right, bye-bye. If I can stop the recording.